Hello, our viewers. Welcome to Suprr 3Isters. I'm so glad you are able to join us today. My name is Lona Kasasa Jemima, and with me I have a very special Suprr 3Ister.
I was always a fighter. Regardless of whatever I'm facing, I never let anyone to undermine me. Every Wednesday, they would want to check us. How
The
hygiene.
grooming, yes.
And then I would like, okay, first of all, I did not have oil on my body. I did not wash,
The uniform. A very special Suprr 3Ister. She is simply special. You can tell by just the way she's looking right now.
So this one day I go to take lunch for her, and when I reach it, I see my mom, she's sitting behind. I nearly drop the thing and run off.
You are not going back.
Because I was not expecting that my mother, she's going to
How
be
long
there.
had you been working?
It was like 4 months later. She
Must
cried.
have been hard for her.
For me, I think she felt like
Her daughter.
I failed as a mother. Would have given my child. She couldn't believe at my age.
You were working.
I was working but I said, no,
You will not.
don't have to worry. I told her that I would work hard and I would build a house and I would bring you back home. And today I made it. Remember, have a goal, have a purpose. Regardless of what you go through, as long as you have a silver lining that you are looking at, you will get there.
Welcome back to Suprr 3Isters. My name is Lona Kasasa Jemima, and with me is our very special Suprr 3Ister, Jackie, who was telling us about her sweetheart at the age of 18, where she had just had her first girl, and life was somehow still shaky but promising. Yes, Jackie, you were
Yeah,
saying.
it was promising.
Yes.
In terms of falling in love, you mean?
Yes, falling in love.
For the first time to have someone to take care of you. And he was a very kind, he was and still is, and everyone I would say was still there. And after we knew what had happened, so came to my big sister, and then it's like, okay, we not real parents, you need to go home to the parents. And I was like, honestly, I am not ready for marriage.
Yes.
I didn't even know what I wanted at that time.
Yeah.
I was like, all I wanted was to keep my baby. And she's a loved child, and that was most important for me. And he was responsible, he was okay, and we decided to move in with him, and we took care of our baby, of which normally, it's a normal way of us here, you can still live with someone and have children. And so we walked a journey together. For me, at younger age, having a child, being pregnant, and he was traveling most of the time. And funny thing also, he became more like a big brother than he spoiled me, I would say. He take care of me. He was like always knowing that I'm still young and he have to take responsibility. And for me, that's when I knew, I felt like there is something nice here. And by now I did not know if it was love or not, but I felt safe. I felt for once in my life, someone is taking care of me. Someone is worrying for me. Someone is worried where I'm going, when I'm going to eat, and how am I going to live. And then because he was traveling, he was always worried, how would I stay in a house alone, and I'm pregnant. Then we had to outsource someone to come and stay with me, and that's when I had to look for a helper. And I would say, okay, for the first time now I also have a helper.
And now a boss.
So I didn't want to see it that way, because for me it's like we always bond, like we are there to help each other. It's like And now it's the first time I have nothing to do. Sleep the whole day, just taking care of a baby and seeing it growing and being in charge. And with our relationship, we reached a point where it's like, because he had a land and he had a 2-bedroom house, so there were big space. And he had built another house there, but the house was not finished. So I encouraged him that every time he got salary, he would give it to me, and I would, by the time he comes back, even if he was a truck driver, so by the time he comes back, he will find like I've made a difference. And then people started like, we can't believe this girl, she's very young, but since they are together, they will see the development. It's like something is happening, because I felt like this was my home. And what can I do about it? Now I started getting engaged in
Construction work.
yes, building the house, and we had a good relationship, I would say. And I won't say I have been in a situation before where someone broke my heart. Like other people, you as a guy, like you meet someone, you date, and then you break up, and then you go. I did not even have that chance. The same way I did not have a chance to party, so I did not even have a chance to date and have many people break my heart before.
But that's a good thing. No one wants their heart broken.
So in a kind way, God has always, like, every challenge I faced was like God was preparing me for something. So we were together, the baby grew, our house was finished, and when she was born, we all, like, it was so much love. We loved our baby girl, and she knows we always loved her. And like with that experience of Kemijisha, it came back to me. And now this was completely different. I was not even scared. They always felt I'm scared because it was my first time. But I had experience with Kemijisha. To see her how small she was. So for me, taking care of babies, actually I love babies. But taking care of a baby was not like something that would be scaring me. So and then we continued with the relationship. We had no problem. Obviously, the relationship, you will have problems, whatever. But I was more spoiled and more listening and believing him. Like, I never had a chance where someone would say, oh, okay, like trucker drivers, they have women in different places. I didn't even care. All I cared about was his home. He respects me. We're doing together things. And I'm always supportive of work. For me, I worried. Even he knew. When he's broke is when I'm stressed to die. But when he has money, I don't care. When he has work, like when sometimes they will have no work and stay home for a month. I'm like, okay, this is a bonus. But at the end of the day, he's crying. But one thing I knew for sure, he taught me to save. He said to me, whenever I give you money to buy food, at least always make sure. So with him also, he was mentoring. And I had the love of computers. So when I finished to have a child, I think my daughter was like a 1 year old. And then he said to me, now I can take a course. And I remember the first time, if they are listening, they would know me. I love that family so much. And I know they with me on Facebook, which Facebook is dead. I'm no longer active on Facebook. But I remember going to their home. She was a pastor and the wife. Well, you know, I'm always in pastor and
just religion.
Yes, and he had a computer academy. So that's when now he sent me there, like at least now I had someone at home who would help me with the baby, and me I go and take a course to study. So that's when I learned computers more, to type, because I was aiming that one day maybe I would be able to learn to be a secretary. You know, those days secretaries' job were on market. And for me, that's when, and if you had the computer skills, it was really nice. Later on, then, you know, after child was 2 years, and then it's like maybe if I realized it, I was pregnant again. And still we had no problem. I was like going to expect the next child. And my son was not lucky when he was born. Brought too much tension to our relationship. Too much like family.
Yes.
Now family engaged, or maybe Bamuroga, maybe this. Every person had
Their own theory.
own theory, and it's not helping. It's like I was suffering away, he was suffering away.
Way.
And for me, what I always said, I trust. I trust somebody, and you break that trust, it's like there's no way going back.
Yeah.
And for me, that's why I was like, I accept every person and their difference. We're all human, and I knew some goodness that from young age, I always knew that when all make mistakes. So with time, maybe when I'm busy with a child, he's also busy with somewhere else. And until later on, I knew that there was another woman came between us. And then I was like, okay, I'm busy fighting with my son's house, and this is going on. And but that was not a big deal that should bring us apart and things like that. But I think with time, we kept silent. I had a cousin of mine by then who was studying at university, and she really helped me a lot. And I know that I have never told it to her, even though it's like we had a misunderstanding by the family. I remember that every effort she made, you know, university child, all her pocket money, she would come and give me money to always making a plan. What can we do this? And you know where you are, and that have never told this to you, but you are my hero. And until today, it's one thing that I have learned. Don't break up with the people until you sit down and try to understand what happened exactly. Until later on, it was too tough for me. That time, I felt the same way. I said bye to my grandmother. And I'm like, why things keep repeating itself? Why can't I just be okay? And I say, God, where do you want me to go now from now on? The only strength I had was the father of my child. But now knowing that we no longer to fight together, to stand together, and someone else who knew us is out there and knowing exactly what we are going through was not difficult for them.
We are going to continue with Jackie's story shortly after the break. Please continue to comment and give your views on our different social media platforms. Suprr Soul Sisters on YouTube, as well as Twitter and TikTok, Suprr Soul Sisters with S being 3. Please stay tuned. Welcome back, our viewers, as we hear the story of Jackie. It's a very touching one, and I hope that all of you out there are being inspired by the hard work and never giving up. So as you were telling us, your child has been taken away from you.
Yeah, and then I felt like my whole, I don't know, it's like I lost
everything.
It's like I was in a Disneyland for just a break.
Yes.
For me. So after that, things could not work out, and then I don't know what happened one day. Again, I walked away. And this time walking away, I did not walk away because after I knew that yes, there was someone seriously involved, I said to myself, I am too young. I'm not going to be somebody's second option. I am much better than that. This time to walk away, I did not walk away alone. I walked away with my baby girl.
Yeah.
Did I have direction again? No. Did I have savings? No. I remember saying to myself, if I sleep under the bridge, I'm going to sleep with this child. I'm not taking my baby away. I went to one of my relatives where I did not have a chance because most of the time I would want to say each and everything as it is. Not for me and not hurt whoever is listening, but for those who are going through the same. Is your relative, is your friend, is somebody that you once thought you friends itself, maybe so that you are able to see where I'm coming from. We have relatives that, like now by then I have had a child and I was defeated from where I'm coming from. And then for me, I saw like a relative of mine to host me, and having girls growing up felt like I was a bad influence to their own children. I did not have chance there and I was not welcome. So I had to leave. And I went somewhere else, and she was not even my close relative. And she was okay, she was staying in one bedroom. And she's like, I don't mind. And only her living was hurting her. And I stayed with her. Now I have to look for a job. I have a girl. It was tough. It was very, very tough. And I know for sure that most of the time, especially women, we are weak by our emotions. That when emotions are like, it's like we are not strong.
Yes.
It's natural. It's who we are as women. For me, that time, I was more mature. I was like, okay, that time you walked away alone, but today you are not alone.
Yeah.
So, and knowing that there is also another child, I felt like I was divided. And I said to myself, okay, so what? And I did not know where the child was and where they have taken a child. And I really appreciate that family so much that they worried for me, and they said, no, we have to help this girl for her to be able, at least that time that knew I was young, I have one and I have another one, and it was really very kind of them. But then with that, it's like I felt like I was detached. I need to save one child by sacrificing another one. And at some point in life is that sometimes do we see that as sacrifice? For me, remember, I never even worry who's saying what and what. I always put in front of me was always what next and what do I want. So I stayed with her. I remember there's time when it came very hard, and I called and I asked if the father knew that for me to be able to go back, he would not like give me any help. And as much I knew that I was done, I was done. I never wanted to go back. I was looking forward for something better. And then I had the aunt of mine again who came also still and found me today, and she was very touched. And that is why that this is a very clear message to most organizations using the children who are with the disadvantages to help them, but sometimes otherwise. So what happened to me, and if you know that also you have extra as a person in your earnings, please always assist these organizations to help these children, because these children are the children that are going to contribute in the future in economy if they are well taken care of. I remember when my aunt came and is like, no, you know, this is too no way. And she decided that, you know, I'm going to take you. And that is when she was a nun. And that is when she took me. And I said to her, I'm not going alone unless you are taking me. So she took me, and I am very, very thankful that for me that day I had anger, I had frustration, I had anything you could think of that I felt like, but there's one thing I always say to myself, I will never do anything to harm myself. I always believed that whatever I'm going through is shaping me. I can survive. I always compare what I've been through and not what I am now, and how did I came out of it. It was like waves, that how I kept moving. So, and when I went in a convent, I was like, okay, I'm living with angels now. That is what I felt. In the convent, I found peace. I found consolation. I found like I'm being reborn from the world I was in and to the world I have entered. All I see in the garden is the veils. All I see, I'm not scared who's going to judge me. And I ask myself, now what is my purpose here? What do I need? I had like a revenge, knowing that how can someone know what I went through? Is like always angry. And that's why like sometimes being in a relationship is like, if maybe as I said earlier, I was never heartbroken. Was my first sweetheart, and then was my first heartbreak. But in a way that actually I wouldn't call it a first heartbreak, or either way. For me, it was a situation I've given myself to observe, to understand, and to make a choice. Do you get it?
Yeah, I understand.
So that I always make sure I don't want to live a situation where I'm blaming somebody.
Someone else, yes.
So it was either for me to accept or to make a decision, whichever makes for me, because it was my life and it was his life. He had to live his ways and make a choices. So for me in that moment, I'm like, okay, if this is what you want, you have made your choice. Brace you. I'm also going to make my own choice. I just felt I'm disappointed. You know that feeling of being disappointed. But I stayed there for almost 4 years in a convent.
Wow. With your little girl.
With my little girl.
Yes.
I got to see her go for the first time to school.
Yes.
I got to see her for the first time. Like now, it helped me to feel like we all now in a nice environment.
Yes.
There were always like
Peaceful.
the orphanage children, and there is like also to grow in that environment. For me, it was the only rewarding thing that God could have given me to shape me. And I reached a point and I say, God, why didn't you bring me here before? Maybe, you know.
Yeah.
But I always say, no, I wouldn't have been a nanny, because I always wanted to I love children, I love family. And my life was always out there, not in here, to have adventure, but in a good way. And me, when I stay in something, it will always be something to push me until I know I'm satisfied. I think that is when now started discovering myself, doing some courses, being with the sisters, and learning how to cook and
enjoying your life.
Yeah, with no competition, not
Yes.
worried about anybody. It brought peace. And I say, like, when all of these things is like, if I go in the life of a girl growing up, not having everything, being in a situation where you are with people with everything and you're always left out, being in love for the first time, how did it feel and how did you enjoy it, and feeling like you no longer have it all again and all the way back, how did it made you feel? And as a mother, I think that it's something that I cannot describe. And with this also situation of finding myself between my daughter and my son, not having a chance to have both of them, I felt like it's something I can't change, but only to accept it and find my way forward, and not to blame myself that I'm a bad mother and I left my son just because the way he is, yes. But because I can't change it. I started now working outside. My first shop was grocery. Now, like 4 years now, I had to detach myself from the convent and now go back like to develop myself, opening myself a first account and in a bank and saving and working with people. Now it's like, now 4 years later after the convent, is like, okay, here I am again. So all these skills, remembering how my father used to send me to serve the customers, how all this now business-wise helped me to learn. If you ask me, did I study in school to be a business administration and big companies? Oh, hell no.
Not at all.
But experience that I went through and being with convent and working with them financially and seeing how they are moving their business, their projects and all that, groomed me and put me to where I am today without only me to understand the communication, the ways and things like that. It helped me to shape me. And then during that time when I finished, I spent time, and I remember there were a radio station and a TV station in the same town where I was. And I got some organization that came to me and said, but you are young. By then I was staying in a convent and I thought I was the nun. I'm like, no, I'm not, because I was working in one of their restaurants. And like, why are you here? You know, because I reached a point that day, the manager of the restaurant was not there and I have to be there representing. And the big order came and she was not there. And I was like, okay, how am I going to do it? I've been singing house shooting and I did it. And this man who was in charge of this organization was very shocked how I organized an event of 72 students and how all went on time. He said, no, this girl has a future. I remember coming back and they asked me, what do you want to do apart of being in this
setting?
What do you want to do? Do you want to go back to school, maybe study something? You're so smart. You are so, what education did you had? I looked at him and I was like, okay, I have a child. Me going back to school, no way. If I go to school, then what is going to happen?
To my child.
You know?
Yes.
I said, no. I had a best friend of mine for 18 years now. We met. Yes. And she has always been there for me. And she said, no, you need to take this opportunity. Opportunity comes once.
Yes.
And then it's like, if you're willing, they're going to pay for your school fees, they're going to pay for everything. Why not
taking it?
Why not taking it? And I'm like, yeah, I could, but then what happened to my girl? You know, so now again, I'm trying to make a decision between my child and my future. Yeah. And which means now I had to leave this other city and I was going to stay in a school. And there I was about 23 years. And they said, no, I would maybe do a short course. And what do you want? I had to run it to work with. I would go to the studio, I would see how they are editing news, I would see how they are doing this. And then I would go to the radio station, I would see how their presenters are. And I was like, okay, maybe I don't mind working with cameras. and I said I was going to study and like maybe take photos, and I started like small things, and then I said, okay. This organization was from Canada, and they say, whatever you choose, we are going to be there for you. But I said no. I remember one day said to me, I cannot afford to go to study and leave my child. I need to find something that I can be able to do with me and her, and I can't see taking her back home. And I remember I said to the dad, whether he wants or not, I always want to make sure I will survive and I will be better off. So I went back. I finished to study what I wanted to study. And with that, by the time I finished to study, I had made friends, English friends, African friends, and it's where now like I started like working with people that everyone is trying to do something, And in 2009, I met a friend of mine who was from Netherlands and was in here for telephone network. It's like working on towers, yes, telecom communication and things like that. And was like one day asked, when I was leaving, asked, and when my best friend for 18 years, and also that time we were going to party. Now she was going to relocate to Canada, and now all my friends again now are going away, and I'm like, hey, again. But it's okay because I knew they were going in different places and they were going to something better. So this friend said, no, you know what, you need to let the world see you. And I asked, what do you mean you want the world to see me? Say, now we are going to go away, but how we continue to communicate? If you lose the number, I lose the number, wherever there's something called Facebook. I'm like, what is Facebook? What is Facebook? I was like, I'll show you. And took me to the laptop and opened the Facebook, and then it was first time to open for me the Facebook account. And then since then we started communicating and things like that. And long short, within that year, that's when I met my husband. My husband was also into computers, and I think, I'm always like a cable girl. Wherever the cable is like I always they were like, I think there is something signal in the computers that's always taken my soul. And then my husband, to meet him, by the way, is I met him online. It was online dating by then, and it was really okay. But I wouldn't recommend girls for anyone today, because today it is a lot of scams. It was not as it used to be. So, and also because of my insecurities, I did not believe. But then everything I got, I would forward it to my Netherlands friend, and I say, hey guys, this is what is happening. So it's like we were three of us. Like we keep rotating information between us. If I am wrong, please double check for me. So now with time, I no. But when I finished to study before I met my husband, I got a job where this lady, she was working with one of the embassy, and then I got a job to work with this foreign embassy. And there with that I saved. Now I started saving. It was like for 1 year. And then I said to her, I said, all of my savings, she said, come and stay with me. So all of my salary I got, I didn't have to pay the rent. Because I told her this is what I wanted to do. Remember that 200 and whatever I saved many years ago, that was already gone. So, and this time I was fortunate that I was able to go back home and sit like a community and ask my father, like if we could have allocated for us that maybe we should build a house and then bring back my mother. But between then, my mother had returned, but still was not in a proper home, because after my brother passed away, I think that brought the family together. It's like, children is like, this child died. So my parents had that also say, is it our fault? Which I know it is not their fault. Most of people living with certain things that have happened to you, and you keep blaming, maybe I'm who I am because this happened to me, because I'm telling you, it all has to do with your mindset. If you set your mind and say, I'm going to achieve this, nothing is going to stop you. We are driven by keeping a background, thinking it is shaping the future. No. You always have to know that tomorrow is going to be a better day. This is not only about young girls growing themselves. It's about mothers who have lost their children, who have parted from their children. And they blame themselves for the failure of their children. It's not that way. The only thing I know for sure that for me has helped me is a prayer. To always pray for myself, pray for my children, and be genuine to myself. To know this is what I could have done, this is all I had to do, and this is what I have to go for every mother that live with a guilt. Everything to know that no. And I will tell my mom she should never to worry about all that, because, and instead today is the day now that she will say, God, I thank you for my child. My mama, my dad, later on, they joined, and they even bakuitabatia kwegata bagitwa.
Yeah, yes.
Bazo mu church, they
like
starting some time years ago. This is like a Nigerian movie, but to be honest,
later on they came back together.
So I know that I've not gone in too deep, but for me, I'm touching the most painful part because it's what that people don't want to talk about. Like even someone may say, oh, how can she went and talked. I am not embarrassing my family. I am giving a testimony to God. And this is to show that today I'm here not because by my effort, but because the grace God had put and the favor God had put upon my life.
Yes.
And to know that today I make my family proud. To know that they can always know that I have their back and I love them so much regardless of who they are. They are my family. They are my parents. They are my blood. I can never get any other father or any other mother. And I love them genuinely to the way it is. And I will never blame them for anything.
Yes.
So now the story ends of my childhood and being a mother and to where I am is, I'm sure everyone is happy asking. And then what?
Just one moment, you're going to tell us all about that. Thank you, our viewers, for staying tuned. We are going to get to Jackie's career very shortly as we wind up. So please stay tuned as I wait to hear from you and those commenting on our different social media platforms. Thank you very much. Welcome back, our viewers, for Suprr 3Oul Sisters. With me is Jackie, and she has shared with us a very inspiring, touching story. And now she is going to tell us more about her company and what it does.
Moving away from my beautiful country,
Yes.
Uganda, and having my new life in Johannesburg, South Africa, with my husband and our beautiful children. We have a boy and my daughter.
Yes, your first daughter.
Yes. I love them so much, and if there is one thing I can ask and repeat, I'll repeat my man over and over. He has been my hero. He has helped me to grow. He's selfless man, and I will never, only thing I can pray that God to give him life like a cat, if that is true. When I got married, obviously I was never in South Africa, and I didn't so when I got married, I moved to Johannesburg, to South Africa, and also I stayed for, now their life was completely different, and I said to myself, being in a new country and married in a different traditions from what you know and what you are used to, and all together was like, okay, here we come. This is a completely different world, completely different people, but I had to make sure that there should be something for me. So I think a year later I got pregnant for my son, and he's very beautiful, very healthy boy, and very smart, intelligent. And I thank God for his life and my daughter's life and all of us. And there I go start now a new home. And at first also it was not easy. You know, I will have to learn the language, and I had to again to rely on my husband for paper, regardless, you know, from one country to another. You also have to work with regulations of how. I did not even know any Ugandan, you know, and I was completely in a different continent. But what I had was me, my husband, and at first I didn't go with my daughter. So when I was pregnant, my son was born, so we decided to bring my daughter, so they grow together. And for me, I started like also like in the film industry, like working with I was in one of us Khan academic to learn the film industry and things like that, and also to understand the language. And then from there I also started working with like film industries and shooting some adverts. And you know, every girl one dream, I want to be a model, I want to be an actor, I want to, you know, kind of life like that. And with this time it was different, because now my husband was always go girl, is like always pushing me and giving me the freedom, and I was like a free bird now, because I knew that he had my support, and I knew he was always helping me to. So with his help, it was easy for me to adapt in the country. So now later on, I decided, I say, you know what, in the film industry there were no money. I want to earn something. And for me, that is when one day I said to him, you know what, I wanted to do something, but I don't know what it was. I struggled. I first did some clothing, like buy clothes, sell clothes. And it's like I tried a lot of things, and nothing like I could find myself. So, and then there is this one time we also had like a downfall, and my son was now older, was in school, my daughter was in school, and I no longer have kids at home to take, because there the system is different. You take your children to school, you pick them yourself. You don't have like, you have to send somebody, and someone have to take to the children. So whenever children went, I was like idle. And me, this I would encourage that one thing that I know for sure, we need to learn to get something to do. Even if you stay home mom, it could be something that you need to do to keep your mind away, because this helps you in your relationship as well. It helps you in your marriage. I say to my husband, with time, we reached where kids are growing, and school fees and maintaining stuff, everything was expensive. No, I need to start to make some income. But what? Later on, like 1 year, I was able to apply for permanent residence. 2 years later in the country, I was able to apply for permanent residence, and by then I was lucky, because once you have a child, you no longer have to wait 5 years or something. But now, as you know, governments keep changing. When I know that now I had freedom to work, I started the Blue Cab.
Yes. And what is Blue Cab?
Blue Cab is a transportation
cab.
You would say Uber, but we are more advanced than Uber. We are ideal for business travelers. Let's say, for example, you're coming to South Africa for business. You are from one meeting to another, to another, to another. You arrange with us, you book with us, and then we help you with your daily schedule and everything you want to outsource in Johannesburg, Pretoria, whatever. So we were doing so well to where I had almost like 5 employees before COVID. And then after COVID, as everyone else, it's like our industry was the first. Now people can't travel because now for me I was operating internationally, and locally was rare. Even until today, we have maybe even locals are traveling from Cape Town, Durban. So it's like you can't call us like in 1 second, oh, I am at the back, can you pick me up? Unless, oh, I'm maybe going to the shopping, can you take me? Unless you are our in customers. What is our in customers? It means like you can come and book with us for a week, 2 days. We are not a call away transportation. We are your own vehicle with a driver, like shuttle service.
Yes. So do you have any plans of expanding to Uganda maybe?
Yes, in Uganda, I'm happy to say that regardless of my business in Johannesburg, I'm always with ideas to know of what is next. With last year, I started a project for crocheting, supporting the young girls crocheting the wool. And when I made the research around here in Uganda, we do not have a best wool for the quality I wanted. So now I started buying a wool from South Africa, sending it here in Uganda, and partnering with these young ladies with their leader. And whenever they finish crocheting, and they will send back the finished product with arrangement to South Africa, and I sell them as crafts for our customers. Yes, yes. And this year we were also fortunate, like we continuously, this year we were fortunate that also we did ponchos, you know, women ponchos. Because here in Uganda there is no winter, but there is winter in Johannesburg, so in the whole country. So which means that these ponchos was more value for this young, like when I send again wool here, we make the wools ponchos and we send back. But I was facing a challenge with expenses to the extent that I found like I was spending more on buying materials and sending back than anything was coming. And these girls, they will really do amazing work. They do amazing job. They put a lot of effort, and even seeing the profit they are making on it was completely not worthy for the work. And my plan, I wouldn't want to expand here as Blue Cap, but rather get the people in fashion and handcraft things. They don't vary so much here, you understand? So, and that pushed me that in transporting these materials was really not like worthy. And 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and also found this young lady with a brother that they are designing so amazing sneakers attached with the kitenge. And when I looked at it, and I was like, definitely I need to get a market. But when I got samples also from South Africa, I brought beautiful shoes here, and they designed them amazingly, so good. But still, the movement becomes more expensive, and then it becomes a challenge. So now I was like, my next plan is that maybe I open a brew cab here, not for transporting people, but for import and export. Yes. So which means that when the brew cab is here and brew cab is in South Africa, the charges becomes less for me.
Amazing, very amazing. Thank you very much for your time. You have truly inspired so many girls out there, and I know that you have learned so much from her. She has been continuously giving you so much advice to keep working hard, never giving up. There is so much to learn from her story, and she is indeed a super soul sister. Thank you for staying tuned. Please keep commenting on our different social media platforms. Remember that Super Soul Sisters is here to inspire you. When you're logging into the different social media platforms, the Super and Sisters starts with a 3 so that you do not get confused, I will be very, very happy to continue engaging with you, and have a blessed evening.